The tragedy so far has claimed the lives of 30 British nationals.
Oh, God. Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. James Lawson here. And this is my making of project for Winter Holiday 2016. You'll be watching this in 2017 though, or some other year. I don't care.
And I'm Continuity Errors James Lawson. I'll be here from the future telling you about the mistakes that my past self has made. Hopefully I'll be able to articulate my ideas a little bit more clearly than myself in the past. Now the first thing I messed up on was that I didn't introduce what the actual brief was. We've been tasked to create a small project of our own choice and record all aspects of the project in order to create a making of film. Now, this could be anything. I decided to go with some form of animation, or, if failing that, an animatic.
It was actually with the help of my daily project, Idea Diarrhea, that I had my actual idea.
Well, that and the many YouTube videos I've been watching at the time. What really seemed to be capturing my attention as of recently were parodies of fantasy or sci-fi genres, particularly that of Starbarians by Harry Partridge and Prosnorculus by Ryan Maddox. I've been finding that since watching these videos, my Idea Diarrhea pages have been a lot more character design based, mainly focusing on fantasy and comedy elements. It was after watching Korgoth of Barbaria, a pilot that was pitched to Adult Swim by Aaron Springer, that I really wanted to find out what was influencing all of these cartoons. All of these animations had really been parodying the works of Ralph Bakshi and Gerald Potterton. Ralph Bakshi being the director of Wizards, 1977, and Gerald Potterton being the director of Heavy Metal, 1981. Many people would consider these films dated by today's standards, and to be fair, who can blame them?
Black Wolf, the future Fuhrer. Attention!
But it was exactly this art style that influenced my initial research animations, and it's something that I want to emulate within my own work. Large portions of these films were animated either using a frame-by-frame method or rotoscoping. Given the time constraints of my project, I did consider that perhaps I wasn't going to produce a finished animation. However, if I could get a decent animatic finished with a good concept, I was more than happy to do the development work and concept art for it.
You see, when I'm not living in Salford, I'm living in Wigan. When you wanted to get decent background work for whatever animation you're going to focus on, it's not exactly inspiring being surrounded by constant rain and drear. But that's when I thought I could use this to my advantage. Now, I don't mean all that suburbia out there. I actually mean the rural area that surrounds the suburbia. And I'll show you right now. This is the kind of stuff I mean. See, what it is I like about these woods is that, especially at this kind of year, you forget how depressing winter can be and sometimes just get lost in the nature. And it kind of inspired me to do something of a fantasy theme for my own work. And to see really where I want to take that fantasy theme, it's probably best if I take you back to my house and show you my study. Well, this is my workstation,
where I gathered most of my primary research sources. My primary research mainly consisted of photographs and videos of previous locations I'd visited. These were mainly holidays I'd been on, such as Dubrovnik, Asturias, Granada, the Lake District, and Santorini. I'm looking over all the old videos that I've recorded from previous holidays, etc. Seeing what I want to include, and then I'm marking it down here, time sequences and stuff. Using inspiration from my mood boards, I adapted my holiday photos into fantasy scenes. This started off by combining a piece of art and one of my photos together. Then, I traced around both of them and scaled them up to the appropriate proportions. I tested out a lot of brushes in Photoshop to see which strokes made my illustrations and block colourings look the most weathered and medieval. Given that I had never done this before, I was pleased with what pushing myself to experiment had produced. After creating this concept art, I actually had to focus on what the concept of the story was going to be. I mind mapped what possible premises I could use for the show. However, I was struggling to create any characters I could get passionate about, until I then realised I could call upon my old sketchbooks, of which I have a drawful, and use the strange characters that I'd recreationally drawn in the past. It was here that the bog, the dead, and the horny came to be. I took all the initial drawings from my sketchbooks and idea diarrhea into Photoshop and sketched out some rough profiles. Once these profiles were outlined, I tested out different colour schemes for each character before making a final decision. It was with these final colour schemes and outlines that I had made 4 concept profiles for the 4 main characters, entitled Grass Zombie, Sextraterrestrial, Goebel von Chudder, and Lord Fiddleshits. In the spirit of my research animations, I wanted to write a script that captured some of the essence of the parody fantasy genre. Rewatching the intros to Starbarians and Korgoth was my first help, as well as some new research from Disney's Dave the Barbarian. I decided an intro would be the best way to convey the characters and the world they lived in. Any lines or jokes that I thought of when I was out and about, I wrote down in notes in my phone. Then all of this was compiled into a first draft script. A few drafts later, and I was ready to record. I located some orchestral cinematic music from YouTube that aligned with the narrator's voice. Importing both files into Adobe Audition, I split most of my recorded voice to align better with the instrumental track. I did this by speeding up and slowing down certain parts of my voice and the music track. After that, I imported my sound effects files into Multitrack, which I had sourced from soundsnap.com. After I exported the multitrack as an MP3, I could finally move on to the animatic. Within my animatic, I've used what they call it in Adobe Flash, these motion tweens, which, if I just click off this, are like present throughout most of the timeline, just these blue bars here in the layers, and like they help me just in like quickly doing movement that I can't be arsed doing, such as just moving basic up and down, sort of panning across and things like this. Just the computer does it all for me. And how it does that sort of stuff, well, we can go in here, double click on one of these blue bars, and we see that it's not exactly motion curves, as it were. You're not exactly dealing with Maya levels of complexity. It's just working out a keyframe where these black dots are here, just along the bar, and moving it to a certain position, X, Y. You don't have to bother with the Z because it's not 3D. Yeah, that's just a little insight into how the animatic was made. Next part of the boring making of, please.
In conclusion to this making of project, I'd say my only regret is time. When I was really inspired in this project, I found that the ideas and workload came very easily, but unfortunately I'm a slow burner in the inspiration department, which ultimately led to me only being able to produce an animatic. I want to take these ideas and overall concept further in my free time, as they've been really fun to play with, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for writing in animation. Ultimately, that's what I've been grateful for in this project. It's pushed me into being a bit more surreal with my ideas and not be insecure about how weird they can be, which is something I've always wanted to be able to do. That way of thinking was perhaps achieved by emulating the styles of the artists that I've researched. So, thank you for sitting through the making of The Bog, The Dead and The Horny. Hopefully you'll be seeing more of this very soon.